Hello and welcome, guys. I'm Solaris and I'm here with a new haircut and a new deck for you. I will, to give you a short overview, I will talk briefly about the specific card choices of Temur Reclamation, and then I go over every current matchup, and I will give you the sideboard strategies for this Temur Reclamation deck. I think it would be a good choice to post this before the big Redbull Untapped tournament, and for some of you maybe for the Mythic Invitational qualifier as well. So I will bring this Temur Reclamation deck, which I think is currently a great choice to play a bit to you. So at first, we are playing 4 opts. There are some people who say op is not needed in this match, in this deck, but I like 4 opts. I want to draw my outs. I want to draw all the good spells, all the niche sideboard cards we are boarding in. We want to fight Nightpack Ambusher against aggro. We want to fight spot removal and removal spells against aggro. And opt is great. It gives you a choice of growth spiraling into an untapped land for opt, or even Uro into an untapped land for opt. Opt is a nice card that you can put in between ramping to other spells. Then we're playing 2 negates. At first I was playing 1 negate, 1 essence scatter, but I think in the current meta essence scatter is not needed. I think 2 negates are a very good main deck choice for now. And we have some experimental cards in Tails and Brazen Borrower. I tested with Glimpse of Randomness. I don't know if you know this, guys. It's an MTGO grinder, and he also plays a lot of Arena now. Also, he's like currently leading in the Mythic point leaderboard. So he's on a good way to make it to Rivals in the next season, and we tested this list. Even though he will probably not play 1 Tails End and 1 Brazen Borrower, he's playing like Chemist's Insight in the main deck. We agreed that this build is also a great choice. So we have Tails End for obviously cards like Planeswalkers, or we can just counter some activate or triggered ability. This has actually a lot of applications in the current meta. I like Brazen Borrower because I want to have 1 interaction spell which deals in the main deck with Great Foxes, for example, from the cycling deck. Sometimes the cycling deck plays Fox on turn 1, and you just simply can never beat this card because it grows so quickly that you can't get it with Scorching Dragonfire or Expansion Explosion. So I thought Brazen Borrower would be a nice reset button at this. 2 Scorching Dragonfire, this is probably, I would say, like the common standard right now. For Growth Spiral, of course, best card in the deck. 3 Mystical Dispute. I was playing 4, but I think 3 right now is okay, having 1, the 4th copy in the sideboard. 3 Uro. I was debating whether 2 is the correct number or 3, but I think 3 is correct. Then I already said 1 Brazen Borrower. The card that makes the deck tick, which is, of course, Wilderness Reclamation. Then we have Shark Typhoon, the recent edition from Ikoria, which puts this deck over the top, and Expansion Explosion as the combo piece to Wilderness Reclamation. As for land choices, this is very, very standard. I'm playing 3 Castle Ventress and only 1 Blast Zone. I was trying out 2 Blast Zones, but the amount of times where I drew 1 Blast Zone and was not able to cast Growth Spiral on turn 2 was too big for me, so I thought that 1 Blast Zone has to be enough. 4 Fabled Passes, 4 Triumphs for sure, and 3 Temples. 2 Temple of Mystery and 1 Temple of Epiphany. Even though you can change those numbers, I think 4 Triumph Lands and 3 Temples seems to be correct. And also I think 3 Castle Ventress is correct. The sideboard here is also pretty stock. I'm playing 2 Isagast, 2 Negate, 2 Fry, especially against Teferi on the draw. 2 Scorching Dragonfires against aggro decks, 1 additional Mystical Disputes for control matchups. 3 Flame Sweeps are pretty much needed. The meta seems to shift towards aggro, so it could also be correct to play Storm's Wrath in the sideboard, or even 1 Storm's Wrath in the main deck. But for now, I am okay with this build, 1 Chemist's Insight against the grinding matchup, and for the mirror, and 2 Night Pack Ambushers. This is the overview of the deck, and now I will talk about the sideboarding strategy, and I will give it to you there, this way. Okay, at first we're talking about Jeskai Luca and Band Yorion, because those you board very, very similarly, if not completely the same against those two matchups. We board in 2 Fry, 1 Mystical Dispute, 2 Negates, 1 Chemisters, and the 2 Nightpack Ambushers. You basically always want to board into some kind of flash deck. This is the hidden mode of the Temur Reclamation deck. You can board into a flash deck, which works out pretty well. So you board out all the sorcery speed stuff and the removal spells. So for boarding out, we're boarding out 2 Dragonfire, 1 Borrower, 2 Uros, and 1 Opt. You can board out 2 Opt on the play, because you will board in 1 Ambusher on the play. Then we have, sorry, I was just confused with the list. You board in 1 Ambusher on the play, and only 1 on the board out, 2 Opt on the play. So that's what I was talking. You can see it at the list there. Then at the next spot we have the mirror. For the mirror we board in 1 Gust, 2 Negate, 1 Dispute, 1 Chemist's Insight, and both Nightpack Ambushers. And for boarding out, we take out the tails and 2 Dragonfires, 2 Uros, and 2 Opts again. For the cycling deck, you need to have an answer for the Fox. So we decided that it is correct to board in Fries in this matchup, because the Fox can simply walk away with the game, and we want this to not happen. So we board in 2 Fries. We also board in 2 Dragonfires, 3 Flame Sweep, and 2 Ambushers. For boarding out, we don't need the Disputes, we don't need the Tails, and we board out the Borrower. On the sideboarded games, it's not that relevant, but I want 1 for the main deck. We board out 1 Expansion and 1 Typhoon, and then again we are boarding out 2 Opts. For the Black-Red Luros deck, we decided to put in all removal spells, so we board in 2 Scorching Daggerfire, 3 Flame Sweep, and the 2 Ambushers. And for boarding out, again, 1 Tails and 1 Borrower, which is not great against the aggro decks, 3 Disputes and 2 Negates. And then you can debate whether you want to board in the Ether Gusts and swap them for Opts, because it depends on the degree of red they are playing. If the Black-Red Luros deck you see a lot of like Rix Mardi, maybe Dreadhorde Butcher, Robber of the Riches, all those great 2-mana threats in red, you can board in Ether Gusts for Opts as well. Then you have Mono-Red Obosh and Black-Red Obosh, which will be boarded exactly the same. Again, this time you will board in the Ether Gusts, because against Mono-Red it's great no matter what, and against Black-Red Obosh they also have cards like Judith and Mayhem Devil, which you need to get rid of. So you board into 2 Gusts, 3 Sweeps, 2 Dragonfire, and again 2 Ambushers. And for boarding out, because they are so fast, 3 Disputes, 2 Negate, 1 Tails, and 1 Shark Typhoon, 1 Expansion, and 1 Borrower. Then we have Temur Clover. Temur Clover has a bit of a resurgence because it has a good matchup against those Luca decks. We have a very, very good matchup against Temur Clover, so we don't need to do that much, but I think there is still something in the sideboard so that we can improve the matchup. And we board in 2 Negate, because you can counter every adventure, and for sure the Temur Clover. We board in 3 Sweeps, which seems a bit like unintuitive, and we board in 2 Ambushers. And for boarding out, we're taking out 1 Tails and 1 Borrower, 3 Disputes, and also 2 Dragonfires, which seems unintuitive as well. But the thing is, you only need to get some time in this matchup. The thing is, they can clock you with with Love Struck Beast pretty well. So what you want to do is to take out those dreadful 1/1s. And if you board in Scorching Dragon, if you have Scorching Dragonfire, you probably will target the actual Innkeeper with it, because actual Innkeeper grants a lot of card advantage. So we decided that we will board out the spot removal and board in Flame Sweep to get rid of the actual Innkeeper and the 1/1s, though the Love Struck Beast cannot clock you, because if you have the time, you will probably win the late game, or let's not say the late game is probably won by 2 Clovers and the Granted from the Clover list, but until then you should be able to deploy a Wilderness Reclamation and win the game. Just make sure that you won't get overrun in the first few turns. The last matchup I have prepared is Cruel Fires, which has come up as well because I think haste right now is pretty much the best keyword you can have. And Cruel Fires is just making a lot of hasty creatures, as Questing Beast and the Ceratops, and sometimes Scorch, the 1/1 elemental that brings 2 1/1 elementals as well, Cavalier Flames, and so on. So you always have haste, and I think haste is very good right now. But for Cruel Fires, we will board in 2 Gusts, 2 Ambushers, and we board out the Tails and 2 Negates and 1 Dragonfire. And there is the consideration of boarding in Flame Sweep, but it's probably only good against the Elemental Cruel Fires list. There are 2 different kinds of Cruel Fires list. There's the one which has a lot of high end in the form of more Cavaliers and so on, and there's the one which is a little bit lower or goes under this, playing the Creeping Trailblazer as a 2-drop and the Scorching thing, I don't know, the 4-mana 1/1 that makes 2 elementals. Against this kind of elemental Cruel Fires deck, I think you could board in some Flame Sweeps, but against the bigger Cruel Fires list, you don't need this. So that's it. I hope you will play Reclamation in the upcoming tournaments and see how good this deck is. I hope I could provide you with some good insights about the sideboarding strategy. If you like what you saw, just subscribe to the YouTube channel or come and watch me at twitch.tv/Solaris. I will be there streaming mostly MTGA content, and maybe you can see me playing the Redbull Untapped event on Saturday. Thank you for taking the time to see this, and bye bye.